All right, so let's read this one more time to stamp important information and pay close attention to what our problem is asking us to find. So below is a graph modeling the amount of sugar required to make grandma's special chocolate chip cookies. So the amount of sugar and chocolate chip cookies. So since they gave us a graph, this will be used as our draw portion of redraw right. And so what is actually being shown in the graph? Well, I see that it says the graph is modeling the amount of sugar and then also the cookies. We highlighted that. But the labels on the x-axis, more specifically, is saying sugar. Let me just label it this way. Saying sugar in the amount of cups, and the y-axis says cookies in the amount of a dozen. So a dozen cookies for every point on this graph. Okay, so let's first record the coordinates that we see from the graph. So I see several different points along the graph. I'm just going to darken them. How do I write ordered pairs from a graph? So I remember from last year that we did this and we wrote them as X and then Y. Okay, so I've learned different reminders of how to look at the graph throughout my years of teaching and what students have brought up as the way they remember how to graph and then pull points from a grid. And my favorite is actually that you have to look both ways before you cross the street, right? So you have to go look on the x-axis before you look up and down on the y-axis. That's a very popular one. Other reminders I have are like you have to walk into an elevator. Oops, I forgot this part. You have to walk like into an elevator before you go up and down, right? So you still have to move horizontally before vertically. There's another one where if you visually just draw out, like if I drew the X, I kind of try and draw it almost horizontally with these arrows. So it kind of looks like it's left to right. And then Y with arrows like that. That's kind of a visual. I remember to look at the X left and right, then the Y up and down. Okay, so whichever reminder you need to use will work so long as we don't forget it's always X and then Y. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at these points. So I have my ordered pair set up, ready to go. And so I know that we need to look directly at the point on every corner in the grid. So what I mean by that is a corner of every little square I see is an exact point versus picking a point in the middle of two corners, right? I don't know exactly where those points are. And so I always want to make sure I'm looking at an exact corner point in order to figure out what number it is exactly. Okay, so I see that the first one is 0, 0. I see another one of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So if I was drawing it on my pen to see exact points, I have 2, 3. I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 6. Then I see this is 10, so this is 9, this is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I think that's good for right now. We don't need to worry about the other two as well, as long as we have most of the points to kind of see what our pattern is. So what do these ordered pairs actually represent? Well, let's start with the first one. So if I was looking at this one, in the situation, there's 0 for X and 0 for Y. Well, what is the X label again? It's sugar and cups. So for 0 cups of sugar, right, let's make this grammatically correct. Grandma can make 0 dozen cookies, which makes sense, right? If you don't have, well, she could make cookies, right? They just would be sugar-free. So since we don't like the sugar-free cookies, if we have 0 cups of sugar, then there's 0 cookies made. Awesome job. And now let's look at the second one. So same thing for 2 cups of sugar. Grandma, oops, and I didn't even make a grammatically correct sentence above, makes 3 dozen cookies, or she can make 3 dozen cookies. So sorry, I'm over here not paying attention to my sentence. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and give you a chance to interpret the last 2 points.